Army, Navy, Air Corps, and I always failed the colorblind test. And so then I just waited until I got drafted, which was in 1945, and ended up in Camp Landing, Florida, in the infantry training camp. And we finished there about Christmas time. We were promised a trip home before we went overseas. So some major politician saw to it that we got home that Christmas. And so they had some planes coming over from the China area where they were flying materials particularly. And so they had about, I think, 4 or 5 DC-3s, 2-engine, noisy plane. So they put us on the planes and brought us into Sioux Falls for about a 4 or 5 day furlough. It's interesting to note that one of the planes crashed on the way into Sioux Falls, and I can't remember for sure, but I don't think there were any survivors. And from a personal standpoint, I missed the plane by 2 men. We were in line to get on the planes. It counted us off. If I'd have been two people, one way or the other, I would have probably not been here now. Well, we came back, and we were sent overseas through New York City, and we saw Statue of Liberty, which we'd never seen before, of course, and shipped us out on the Queen Mary. There were about 24,000 or 25,000 men on that ship. Anyway, we crossed the Atlantic on our own in about 3.5 days, which was pretty fast in those days. And then they shipped us over on a smaller ship to Le Havre, France. And they were looking for people because the bulge was just finishing up then. Just remember the bulge in Belgium and Luxembourg and that area, where the Germans almost won the battle. Not quite, though. So we stayed there a few days and send us up to the front lines. We were just green kids, 18 years old, and we got sent right up to the front, but it was still some mortar shells and things flying by. And I guess the thing I'll never forget is took us up to the front lines, and the 99th had suffered over 50% casualties. And so they sent me up to the kind of like a foxhole, except it's just a hole in the ground, and the roof was big trees, about 8-10 inches in diameter, and then dirt on top of that. These guys lived in there like rats, literally. They were not happy people. They suffered so many losses and friends, and so they didn't give us much of a welcome. And the first day I was there, I was put on guard duty that night, all by myself. 18-year-old kid, here, if you watch out for, see if anybody comes, sound the alarm, and we'll come out and help you. Well, nothing happened that night, so everything was fine, and that was kind of my first experience with war. And there were so many shells, and I'm not exaggerating, that hit the trees and literally wiped out all the leaves and everything. All they had was left was some trunks and sticking up in the air. That's how intense the battle was. That was before my time, however. So we just kept moving into Germany. And do you remember the term, the Ruhr pocket, R-U-H-R? This is an area that we had surrounded. And there were hundreds, probably over, they talk about a couple 100,000 Germans surrendered. And we herded them around and got them moving. And then we continued on into Germany. I was there, and we were just sitting there waiting to go across, and I came down with scarlet fever. And so they put me in a field hospital. I had to walk 2 miles to get to it with scarlet fever, but that's the only way you could get there. And I stayed there in the hospital, field hospital, for several days. And then, lucky me, I got to fly in an airplane to London and put it in a regular hospital in England, which was kind of nice because I got out of the hospital on VE Day, Victory in Europe Day. And so we went out and celebrated with the rest of the people. And it was an unbelievable celebration. Well, they finally shipped us out, and I can't all the details, but we were sent into Germany, and then I was assigned to the 3rd Division there, combat engineering division.